Now, Conklin and Company continues with Take 3, commentary and analysis from our panel of political contributors.
That's right, Take 3 coming a little bit early today with Melissa Miller from Bowling Green State University, and talk about the vice presidential debate in Danville, Kentucky. Interesting place to have it, Melissa. It's Center College. I guess there's some history there.
Well, there is. The thrill in the Ville, though, is how this got billed with a play on the Danville location, and it did thrill, I think, differently for Republicans than it did for Democrats, but it really packed a punch, mostly because Joe Biden kept throwing them. And
more aggressive than Paul Ryan, no question, right?
There's no question about it. I mean, one could say that it was sort of, there was a generational distinction going on. So we had a young gun versus sort of an old pro. And it was, strangely enough, the older gentleman who just really came out aggressively. I think he got the memo after Denver that he had to show some passion and had to be aggressive, and he really took it, some would argue, over the top. Yeah,
well, that's what I was going to say. I got an email from someone, and it was well thought out today. I voted for the president. But this debate disappointed me because Joe Biden was condescending and patronizing and the smirking. You know, that's how it played with some people. And others said, hey, he won. Yeah. He clearly won.
And I think ultimately, the overnight polls said it's about a draw. Yeah. I mean, that it really
was. Slight edge to Biden, or just?
I saw one that said one overnight poll gave Biden a slight edge, the other gave Congressman Ryan a slight edge. So probably a draw. Yeah. Now, here's the reason I think this happened, though, and I think it's because Joe Biden really had two tasks, and it's hard to do them simultaneously. One was to re-energize the base that has become really despondent since Denver, really disappointed in the president's performance. The other is to try to win the independent voters. And it's hard to do those two things at once, because what's going to fire up your base is not necessarily going to appeal to the independents in the middle.
One's a push, one's a pull, and then we're the twain.
So I think he did a good job at getting the base fired up, sort of preaching to the choir, getting them back on board, getting them back in the fight. But I think he may have turned off independents in the middle, unfortunately, because of the things you mentioned, the constant eye rolling. Sometimes he seemed kind of disdainful.
Hard to avoid.
Right. And it was a split screen. I mean, I often found that as Congressman Ryan was talking, I couldn't help but watch what was happening in the Biden screen, because his reactions, he was chewing the scenery up from his chair at the table.
What about that format? Do you like the format, sitting at the table, Martha Raddatz just kind of guiding things along the way? Does it tend to make the competitors more at ease, or maybe a little more combative?
Actually, that format with the candidates sitting close to one another at a table typically makes them be sort of more respectful of one another. You tend to get a nicer debate, and it just didn't happen this time.
Just a conversation.
That's right, more of a conversation. Now, I think Martha Raddatz did a great job, as far as she could.
High praise, really.
You know, great questions. I think she took them both to task when she felt that they weren't quite telling the whole story, or weren't on point, or there was maybe a factual error. She had trouble reining in Joe Biden. I think anyone would have had trouble. It was hard to stop him from interrupting. And unfortunately, again, I think for the Obama campaign, probably it didn't help the cause among independents.
Well, that's what people expect, though. They expected and that was all the buildup coming in. What's Vice President Biden going to say? That will be the soundbite the next day.
He provided a ton of sound bites. Congressman Ryan had some as well. But I think in terms of any damage that might have been done, that the vice president became a little bit unhinged, I think if anyone can recover from it, it's Joe Biden, because we think of him as a gaffe machine, because we know you never know what to expect when it's Joe. I think it may just kind of they may be able to slough it off. Oh, that was Joe. But you know, both of them had some zingers. I thought it made, frankly, for an engaging 90 minutes. I mean, I liked that it was both substantive at the same time that there was some entertainment value. I mean, I feel bad saying that as a political scientist, that it should all be.
It's part of it now.
It is.
It is.
And you've got to keep people engaged. They won't get the message if they switch the channels. So I think it did keep people engaged.
All right, we're going to come back in just a minute. The anatomy of a pollster, see what's happening pre-vice presidential debate, and what might happen as we work our way toward the election just over 3 weeks away now. Conklin and Company continues in just a minute.